Welcome to the Cool Fireman Podcast, a virtual firehouse kitchen table with What's a Rolfie, Unky, Fireman 1231, JDB Cubed, and Fireman Freddy. Let's get to the show.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cool Fireman Podcast. Freddy here with you. Matt, Doug, we have ourselves a special guest this week, Trevor Williams. You've seen him. You've seen his product. It's a superstar product, the Williams key. We are going to dive in, talk to him about it. He's going to tell us where it came from, who he is, how he got there. But first, like we try and do every week, we're going to take a brief second, take a moment of silence for anybody in the fire service, police, first responders, military that may have lost their life within the past week. So if you could indulge us real quick for a quick moment of silence. All right. Appreciate everybody for that. It's always weird having a podcast with dead air. You're not sure if you accidentally hit pause or something, but nope, we're here. You made it. It's the Cool Fireman Podcast. So like I said, we have Trevor Williams with us today. He is on the west side. We finally pulled somebody in from the west side of the country with Matt. We've been working on the east side here. We said, you know what? We'll throw Matt a bone. We'll bring one of his people in here. So Trevor, tell us about you. Tell us what makes you you.
Yeah, so we fight fire out here on the West Coast too. Happy to represent. My name is Trevor Williams, inventor of the Williams key, and I work for Los Angeles County Fire Department out of Fire Station 8 in West Hollywood. I've been on the job with LA County for a little over 7 years. Did the Explorer program, did the whole thing to get hired. And before I got hired, I worked as a construction worker and specifically as a carpenter doing doors and locks. So that's kind of where the Williams key came about. I was expected to know a lot about locks and doors, and after putting hands on thousands of them, I kind of had a good perspective as to how a lock works, how a door works, and now as a firefighter, I have a good understanding of what's behind that door. It's not guaranteed all the time because people do all sorts of crazy stuff out there, but I've got a little bit of an X-ray vision when it comes to sizing up a door, and I know what's supposed to be on the other side of that door for the most part. So as a construction worker, I was always making little tools for myself. I knew how to pick locks, and just anything that pertained to locks and doors, I was either making or obtaining so that I could be proficient at my job and eventually now as a firefighter. So I'd made a crude version of the Williams key out of a framing square a while back, and once I got on the floor, West Hollywood has a lot of commercial, industrial, high-rise apartments, that sort of style of doors and buildings. And so I was pulling that tool out every day, helping us make access, and eventually people noticed and they're like, hey, what is that thing? Can you make me one of those? And to make just one is kind of hard, it takes a while. So I decided to outsource and get a small batch made of these tools. And for your listeners, if you're not familiar, looks like this, just a piece of metal. It's flat, 12 inches long on the blade side, and then a 9-inch handle, 14-inch steel gauge. There we go. Sorry. So yeah, I had I don't know, maybe 20 of them made, and those disappeared real quick. And after that, it was just word of mouth, and it took off like wildfire. Now I sell them. I never intended on selling or having a business for tools, but now there's Williams Key Incorporated, and been over 15,000 of these sold, and that's now just the base platform for a whole slew of other things I've made. So I've got about 10 unique products that I sell now on the website, and now we're starting to get fun with it, where we got like different colors.
Oh, nice.
And
Mother's Day edition.
Yeah, Mother's Day or breast cancer or whatever you want to call it, or just like, hey, don't steal my tool, it's pink, like I'm gonna know you took it, right?
Right.
When I work construction, some guys would spray paint their tools pink just so that you didn't steal them, and they'd be able to identify them more easily. But we're also looking into doing like I think a carry coat, the type of paint that they do on guns, and water dipping, and so we're looking into always doing like new ideas and expanding to a broader audience. And then there's also like really big ones too. So this is the Magnum.
Holy cow!
Magnum Triple XL.
He called it the Magnum.
Of course you did.
This one's 35 inches, and it's good for like gates and some more technical rescues. It can get into cars sometimes. It's not my go-to for cars, but it can if you bend it and stuff. Help with some auto. Truck companies like it. It's good for reaching over gates, grabbing handles, or if there's a full door anti-vandal plate, sometimes it can help to bypass that as well. And then what's one other thing here we got? This is, once you make entry, I send a sample of this out with all the orders. You can leave this on the door if the person you made entry into, like the residents, if they weren't home. You don't want them to think that they got robbed, or if you come home and you're like, oh, there's a few things out of place, or you see a footprint or like maybe a plant that got knocked over, you think you might have gotten broke into, right? So that's unsettling. So these things are just like peace of mind for our customers, and let them know, yeah, you didn't get robbed. You had a smoke alarm going off. You weren't home. We had to come in there and shut it off. Your neighbors were complaining or whatnot. So
it's a good idea.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Been doing this for a couple years now, and it's really taken off. Have a good social media presence. The content's pretty organic. People send me videos and pictures all the time. So I'm able to just continue posting that. And once you see it work on scene and you're Johnny on the spot getting in, it's contagious, and other people want it. As I was talking to Freddie backstage before you guys showed up, an order came in for like, it was like a $2,000 order, and
Whoa.
like, the whole department ordered them, so like this happens like pretty frequently. And I haven't gone out and trained with anybody or like done any of the FDIC or anything. I'd love to, but this is just, it sells itself. It keeps me super busy, and I haven't needed to, although that that would be nice for the customers and for the other firemen out there, firefighters. But it's been a pretty big audience too. So not just firefighters, but police, a big with police, SWAT love it. A lot of government agencies, FBI, Department of Justice, Border Patrol. I've sold to 2 of the SEAL teams. Yeah, all the military branches, construction, real estate, janitors, locksmiths, plumbers. Like, yeah, there's just like a big audience for it now.
That's pretty cool though. If you don't have to go out there and train with them, like if you're saying that you've never been out there to train, but you're sending all these things out, so obviously it's pretty self-explanatory as to how to use it. Yeah,
it's user friendly, and what I'd like to do, I haven't done this yet, and kind of have to be careful with it, but like have kids, it's so easy, a kid can use it or whatever.
For sure.
Even parents will like buy it, when kids lock themselves in the bathroom at home. I sell another product too that is better for inward swinging doors, which is what a bathroom would be inside the residential home.
Mm-hmm.
A piece of plastic. I'm partnered with a fire swipe tool, and we sell it's like a really long credit card that like slips along the jam.
Those guys are good guys.
Yeah.
I just had in service last week, and one of the guys, it was on Forcible, just kind of through the lock stuff, and a guy had one of those firefighter swipe tools there.
Yeah, they're great. And so there's a little story behind how our partnership came to be. I made something similar on a call one day out of a water bottle, not knowing about his company. And I got us in a door, like on the spot, a knife, smart water bottle, cut it up, slipped it through, we got in, just MacGyvered it. And then people already knew it. I made the Williams key and everything, and I'm like the entry guy. So they're like, hey, you should sell that too. And I was like, hey, maybe you're right. So I made my own version of it and started selling it. And Bill, Fire Swipe Bill, was contacted because he has a lot of followers that follow both of us. And he's like, hey, man, some guy's ripping off your product. And so he got in touch with me. We had some words. And I was like, you know what? I didn't know. I'm sorry. I respect the brotherhood and whatnot, and I don't want to take away from what you got going on. So I'll stop. I won't make it anymore. And if you want to partner or make some money later on down the road, you know, let me know. Hit me up. And at first he did not. You know, he was like, he was mad about the situation, I guess. And I think we handled it well together. And a couple months later, he approached me and he's like, hey, I was thinking about what you said, and I'd like to go into business with you. So now we make a Williams key version called the inward door slip knife. And I use his swipe tool in there. So he sends me the product, I package it for Williams key, and I sell him. And he's a New York guy, lieutenant, and he's been out here to my house in California. So we've had beers together, and now we have a great relationship and a good partnership.
Sweet.
So that being said, Williams key is better for outward swinging doors. I don't think I disclosed that. If you can visualize the strike in the door, that's going to be your easiest door, and you can grab it with the shove knife handle end. If there's an anti-vandal plate in the way, which is like a theft guard, this will reach down behind it, and that's how you're like fully utilizing this tool. This is like the best feature, being able to reach behind a vandal plate and still push that strike out of the way.
So do you have like training videos on YouTube or anything?
Oh yeah. Probably like a couple hundred, not a couple hundred, probably 100. I post new videos every week.
Yeah.
And people are always getting themselves into trouble, like figuring out like how to get into new stuff. People always ask me about panic hardware, and it doesn't do panic hardware unless it's like an unconventional installation. So if it's a double panic, a better tool for that would be a J-hook. But you can also bend the Williams keys in order to make a J-hook. So it works sometimes for that. I probably have 4 or 5 videos of panic hardware where it does work, but again, not a traditional installation. People get into windows, like jewelry boxes, they trip sensors, like the motion sensors, you can reach the tool through, trip it that way, especially the Magnum. You put that really far through your gap. Some guys will put a rubber glove on the end. Yeah.
There's your promo. Especially the Magnum goes really far in the gap.
And wear a glove on it. Put a glove on it.
Cover it with a glove.
Oh God, it's funny. It's funny you say the water bottle thing again. Back to last week when we got ready to use that tool, somebody said this thing came about from a guy using a water bottle. So he may have been talking about you. I don't know, but I'm definitely going to let him know that we talked to you. So for sure.
Right.
So did you get have you patented this thing, and like is it proprietary to you or?
So no. So I'd tell people, make it on your own, if you can't afford it or whatever. I'm just out here trying to help people, and it's a piece of metal. It's a simple device. So yeah, I'm not in it for the money. I'm interested in people getting in quicker without doing thousands of damage to doors, and leaving MIMA unsecure, right? We leave these houses, and sometimes you break into the wrong house, and that's even worse. Not only did you do damage, but it wasn't even like warranted or the proper house. And then I get the feedback and stories from all these different police and fire, like, hey, I saved a life. I was able to make entry, and somebody was about to take their life, and we were able to intervene. Or just I wish there was a way to like quantify the good that it's done. There isn't, but between probably like millions of dollars worth of doors that were saved, and the people that were accessed quick enough to do CPR or stop a suicide or whatnot. I love to hear those stories, and anybody listening, please give that feedback back to me. But yeah, it's kind of hard to measure that, right? But I do get to hear it from time to time, and that's why I do it. Like, that's what, again, not about money or anything. I just want to help firemen and other services be better at their craft. And if I can teach you how to do it and you want to do it on your own, I'm fine with that too.
Dude, no better place to preach than on the Cool Fireman podcast, because you just spoke our language. I mean, like, if we all speak the same language, that's it. And so we always bring it back to the mental health awareness, the 2 episodes that we've done, one with Kenny and the other one. And it's like, how do you quantify what you're actually doing and who you're helping? And, it's by people reaching out to you, just like you said. You love to hear the stories. We've gotten a few stories. Hey, I was able to help my firefighter because of this, and I listened to that, and it's just, dude, it's just awesome. That's same language here.
Nice.
So let's dive a little bit deeper here, because there's a billion products out there made by firefighters, and you could quite literally spend a couple months' paychecks just outfitting your pockets with tools. So for me, when we originally started talking, what makes the Williams key something that I would want to purchase is the backstory, is not the product, because I can get the product 10 different ways. Why do I want to buy a Williams key? And I want you to go into what you told us, how you grew up, and then what you survived, and then what we talked backstage, what you do now with your construction background, the NGO that you have, that if people are trying to decide between A company and B company, I want them to go with the Williams key, and I want them to go with you, and here's why. I want you to give us a little bit of that, Trevor.
Cool. Yeah, so some backstory on Trevor Williams. I grew up as a missionary. So I lived in Africa when I was young. My parents worked for a large nonprofit organization called World Vision, and they're all over the world. And we lived in Africa, got there when I was 4 years old. We lived in a country called Zaire, and it's no longer called Zaire. It's now called the Democratic Republic of Congo. And we got there, shortly after we got there, the Rwanda genocides started occurring. So if you've seen Hotel Rwanda, we were living in that. Zaire bordered Rwanda, and affected by it quite a bit, like large military presence. House bullets would fall in the house at night. We had security, it was a dangerous place. You didn't want to be out at night. People would come to us with their valuables. If we survived, we'll come back and, can you hold this for us? We'll come back and get it. So yeah, that was Zaire. It eventually got so dangerous that we had to move to South Africa. We were there for about a year. Also a dangerous place. It seemed more like Americanized, but a lot of gang violence, and we had like panic button necklaces and stuff like that. So it's still like not a safe place to be at all. Eventually went back to Democratic Republic of Congo, which it had changed its name while we were in South Africa, and soon realized that the whole country is just in a very dangerous state, civil unrest, and we evacuated to Connecticut. So lived in Connecticut for a bit, and before long, we were moving again, and we moved to the island of Haiti. And Haiti got put on the map with the 2010 7.0 earthquake, but we moved there before anybody knew about it. So Haiti is attached to the Dominican Republic. Together they make up the island of Hispaniola, and it's about 565 miles south of Florida. Same thing, my dad was working for World Vision, and we were there during a time that their president was being overthrown. So a lot more civil unrest, riots in the street. Was exposed to a lot of death and dead bodies very, very early on as a teenager, and was living one day at a time. Like that was a stressful environment to grow up in. And same thing with Haiti. Eventually it got so bad that we had to evacuate, and they're trying to keep people from leaving the country, and they'd make barricades with dead bodies and burn tires and attack your vehicle. And so a lot of people were dying, a lot of kidnappings. A lot of people I knew were getting kidnapped, and some didn't come back, so it was a bad place to be. So from there I ended up in California, and I was 15 by the time I got to California. And people at 15 years old, people were starting to ask you like, oh, what do you want to do with your life? And I had just been living a day at a time. So I was like, I don't know. I just want to catch my breath.
I just want to survive tomorrow.
Yeah. So I was figuring out America. I'd spent most of my life overseas, and people were like, oh yeah, maybe fireman, so I looked into that, and I was like, oh yeah, this is right along the same lines of everything I've been doing. You're in high stress environments, you're helping people, and it's almost like being a missionary, you're helping people every day and trying to bring good to the world. And so I got involved with LA County's Explorer program, which, for your listeners, if you don't know, explorers are kids who want to be firemen and get to go and do training with the department and see if it's for you or not, So I did that. Did the Explorer program, did the Explorer Academy, tested 60 different departments all over the country, tested for New York, Texas, Washington, just continued to always test. And eventually got picked up with the department I wanted to be with, which was LA County, the one I'd been training with. But in right before that, in 2010, I went to visit my family who had moved back to Haiti. So I went to visit them a week before the Haiti earthquake in 2010, and my goal was to go and volunteer with the United Nations. I had some fire training under my belt. I had just gotten my EMT, so I wanted to help them with a new fire program. My goal was to spend a month there, visit my family, but also do some training. So I got there. A day before the earthquake, I went to interview with the UN, because there's still like formalities. They got to like make sure they want you and give you like a badge and fingerprint you and all that stuff. And my interview was supposed to be the day of the earthquake, during the time of the earthquake. And I decided to call him a day early and be like, hey, can we just do this early? Like, I don't want to waste my time while I'm here. I'm not here for very long. We just get this out of the way. So they let me come in, do the interview a day early. And had I done it the day of the earthquake, I probably would have died, because that building completely collapsed the next day. 300 people died, and everybody in it died. Wow. So I knew like right away I'd already been like gotten a second chance. So the day of the earthquake, I was on the second floor of an orphanage, and when it hit, it was in the evening. It was 39 seconds long. It killed 300,000 people, left 1 million people homeless. The greatest natural disaster in modern history. Like it was insane. Like they're still recovering from it. And at first I hadn't been in a massive earthquake before, even living in California. Never really paid attention to them. But this felt like it was a slow rumble at first, and then it felt like a train was just ramming into our building, and it was loud. There's dirt, debris everywhere. There's buildings coming down around us. Everything in the building I was in fell on the ground. There was cracks in the walls, but that building didn't collapse. And thank God, because there's 110 orphans in that building. So as soon as the earthquake stopped, we got all the kids out, tried to get them into like a little safety zone, sitting down. I knew aftershocks were going to start hitting, and the aftershocks were big too. They're like 5.0 aftershocks. Infrastructure is very poor in Haiti, unreinforced concrete. So there's no rebar. Everybody's living on top of each other. And aftershocks started to hit, and brought down more and more buildings, but all those kids were safe. I was safe. And I hadn't heard from my dad, or I have a mom and 2 sisters there as well, and hadn't heard from them either. Cell phone service went down. All the towers went down. Everybody's trying to make phone calls. None of that. Communication was really poor. Nobody was able to get through. Fortunately, my dad knew where I was, and a couple hours later, he was able to make his way to me, let me know that he was okay. But where he works is near where my family was living, and he went back to check on my mom and sisters, and they live in a 5-story apartment on the edge of a mountain on the bottom floor, and it had completely pancaked down and collapsed, and he couldn't find them. So he came and told me what he saw. He's like, there's nobody alive in the building. We know that your mom and sisters had been in there during the earthquake. It's not looking good. This is what he told me. And I was like, that's heavy, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to believe, that anything bad had happened to my family. So I was just trying to process it and be hopeful. And that night we went to we made our way up the mountain. It was really hard to navigate the roads. There's bodies in the roads. There's fallen down walls everywhere. So we're basically off-roading all the way up to our pastor's house, who had like a less affected house in the mountains. He had a satellite phone, so we were able to make contact to a couple family members in the States, let them know that we were okay, but we're still looking for everybody else. At this point, we didn't know like how bad the earthquake was, that how many people died or whatnot. It was way bigger than we imagined. So couldn't sleep that night. Aftershocks continued to hit, and I kept, I felt like I needed to do something because my family was unaccounted for. And so I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I was up as soon as the sun was rising, and I was like, come on, Dad, we got to go. Let's go find them. And he's like, no, we got to eat. You need your strength. He was like, he's a pretty like reasonable, critical thinker, and I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. All right, let's eat. And while we're eating, he starts talking about funeral plans for the family. And I was like, that's when I lost it, because I realized like he did not think that they were alive at all. And I stood up. I hadn't cried or anything yet. And I walked over to the balcony at this house we were on that overlooked the mountains. And I hadn't seen Haiti in the daylight yet since the earthquake. Oh. And the sun was rising, and it was just like the most vivid imagery. Like it's still so in my head today. Like this was like 10 years ago or 12 years ago. And I still remember this like so clearly. And sun was rising, and it was just like devastation. Like there's headers everywhere. There's fires from like the earthquake caused fires, and just rubble everywhere, smoke in the air. It looked like a war zone. And like it totally didn't look like how Haiti normally looks or how I remembered it. And you could hear wailing, like you could hear people crying, people singing like consoling songs, trying to comfort each other. And that's when I started to cry. And I was like, all this stuff, it just became so real so quickly for me. And so after that, we started making our way down the mountain to go find my family. And we stopped at my dad's office, the World Vision headquarters, to get shovels and water and some supplies to help us. And as we came in the front gate, they hobbled in the back gate. And my mom and both my sisters were still alive, and we're covered in debris, bloody, like beat up, but they had made it out alive. And they spent the night in a tree. That's why he couldn't find them. And right away, like prisons busted open. So there's like a lot of bad people out. Looting started happening right away. Just gang violence, like all this stuff. It wasn't safe for like 3 women, you know, and in this scenario at all, let alone normally, like even normally without all that stuff going on, it's not very safe. So they were hiding. And what happened, like they're a miracle. They shouldn't be alive. But what happened was when the earthquake started, they were all together, which normally they split up when they get home, but they were all together talking about the day. And as they hear it collapsing, like super loud, shaking and stuff, the wall broke open where they were all standing, and they jumped out as the whole building came down.
Oh my God.
They're on the side of a mountain, so they're tumbling down the mountain barefoot. My youngest sister, I think she was 4. The other sister was 11 or 12. And then my mom at the time was in her 40s. So yeah, it was rough, but like, you know, miracle. They absolutely should not be alive. So yeah, we all held each other, cried, went from losing everything to getting it all back. So extremely emotional time for me and the whole family. And so yeah, so after that, they got evacuated out by the U.S. Air Force through the U.S. Embassy. And I told my dad, like, hey, I got to stay and help. Like, I know I'm here for a reason. I just got my EMT. I've got some training. I think I'm here for a reason, you know, and I know the language a little bit. I know the country. I think like hands on the ground or feet on the ground, I'll be good, you know, here. And he's like, yeah, you're right. And he left with them. And he gave me the car keys, and he's like, try and keep us informed, you know, of what you're doing. I was 19 at the time. And so yeah, from there on out, I got with a search and rescue team, and I told them my story, and they allowed me to help with them. And we didn't find anybody alive. We're just pulling body parts out. My department has a task force 2 that came down. I saw them, and I wasn't hired yet, but I was still an explorer at the time, and I had my department shirt and hat on. I lost everything else in the collapse, but they saw me wearing this county stuff, and I ran over to them and I'm like, hey guys, can I help? And they said no. Like pretty cool, but
get out of here, kid.
Yeah, they said no, go kick rocks. And yeah, I wasn't hired, and so that kind of left me a little bitter after that. And I was like, man, this is so perfect. But yeah, now I understand, because I joined the team after getting on the job, and I know how much red tape there is and politics and stuff. So that wouldn't have worked. But I did a lot of things in that those couple weeks to follow. I worked in a MASH tent that was set up at the airport, and helped with amputations, like a lot of amputations as people were getting pulled out of the rubble. And then a lot of like new stuff, like the gang violence, like gunshot wounds and stuff were occurring too. And probably the most fun and most effective work that I did was with a helicopter team. I met a group of private pilots that brought down 3 helicopters, and they were just pirates. We're like stealing food from the airport, loading up these helicopters and dropping it all over the country, and everybody's starving. You know, they come out of the woodworks and just swarm the helicopters. So eventually we had to be more tactical and hover and like drop food, or we drop it into rivers that would kind of disperse it. And it was a lot of fun. We'd sleep in the Dominican at night because it was safer over there. They'd land these helicopters on this baseball field, hire security to like protect us and watch us, and the next day we'd do it again. And yeah, so
how long were you over there?
It was almost a month. So I'd been there about a week before the earthquake happened, and then 3 more weeks after that.
You guys were probably having to ration food and water and all that too.
So you'd work as long as you could, especially in the hospital settings. Like you'd work until you drop, go take a nap. There's like cots set up. I was mostly eating MREs. There's tons of MREs floating around. All the food, there's lots of food, but it was all getting stuck at the airport. And every time it tried to get distributed, a riot would occur. And I was involved in 2 rides with vehicles. And then eventually we're like, nah, we can't do this. Like, it's just too dangerous. And so that's where the helicopters came in. And that's when we started getting some good food out. But at least for me, there's plenty of food to eat. It was just all MREs and not very good. But I wasn't worried about that. I was just
MREs and constipation.
Yeah, just working until I passed out pretty much, and get up and do it again. There's so much work. You want to be like as effective as possible, especially in those like initial few days, because that's when the viability is there for anybody who's impacted for rescues. So yeah, it was like nonstop, just trying to help out as much as possible.
Wow, dude, that is quite a story. That's amazing.
Thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and I'm a victim of circumstance, right? I was just there. I didn't plan any of that, but wanted to be effective and make the most of it and help out how I could with the skills that I had learned and been taught. And you brought up, Matt, mental health earlier, and that was a big thing for me and my family after that, because we all suffered from PTSD, and I saw thousands of dead bodies, and my family thought they lost their lives, and loud noises affected them, and vibrations, and couldn't sleep well, and nightmares and all that stuff. So I did better than they did, one, because my situation was different, but 2, I got to process each day. I was still in Haiti, like, seeing like this thing progress, where my family got whisked away right away and didn't get to like bring closure to their situation. And after Haiti, I started a nonprofit organization building houses for earthquake survivors. We built 39 houses so far. And part of that is me going around, or like today, I get to share my story, right? So that's part of the process, like the working through the mental
trauma.
Yeah, the mental trauma of it all. So I got to speak with a lot of schools and churches and everything while I was like raising awareness and fundraising. And now I've shared my story probably a couple 100 times, and I'm good now. And I take that as like a life experience, something that happened to me that it's too bad that it happened, but it kind of built me into a stronger man today. And because I was able to deal with it and process it.
Dude, freaking preach, brother. Dude, where's your halo, man? You got like you need to like duck down. So no, I know you're a humble dude, but your story is absolutely amazing. And the people that are listening right now, including myself, are encouraged to do what you just said. And it's like, whatever trauma you have, it doesn't matter if you've seen somebody commit suicide in our job, or you see in a bad car accident where somebody got ejected. I mean, I've seen kids mangled up, and it's like, you have to talk about it. The more that you talk about it, the more like just comfortable you become with it, and your body can like absorb the trauma almost. You know what I mean? Like you hit the nail on the head. And we talked about that, in our mental health stuff, is you got to talk to people. And here we are again, like, it all comes around. It's like, comes back to mental health, especially in our job. But I mean, of course, with your life and your story that you just shared is like insane. And of course, you're, a very resilient human being to be able to go through something like that at such an early age, and then bounce back and still be a badass and still want to help people. And now you got this foundation, you're building homes. It's like, Jesus, go out and support this guy. I mean, buy a gosh darn key, will you?
Here we thought we were bringing somebody on for some through the lock stuff, and let's get old.
No, it's good. It's good.
But that your whole story, everything about you just epitomizes why we started this whole thing. So it just kind of fits perfect. Yeah. We're just here to help people and spread whatever kind of words we can. And the more guests we get like you, the better, because it allows you to share your story on our small platform, because we're kind of growing organically as well. So yeah, the more we can share it, the better, man. That's awesome. I'm speechless.
Yeah.
And we love meeting people like you. We love meeting people that want to tell their story, that have these awesome experiences, whether they're good or bad. It's Trevor, sounds like yours was quite a bit of a roller coaster. throughout the
good and bad
throughout the ride. So, being able to connect and develop relationships with people like you is so cool, and it really encourages us that this platform that we're trying to create, this virtual kitchen table, pull a chair up and tell us your story, and we love that.
Yeah. Again, it just epitomizes. We started this whole thing based on a virtual kitchen table, and that's just the kind of things you talk about around the table. You being a fireman, you know as well as we do that everything happens around the kitchen table. A lot of conversation. Some of them shallow, some of them deep.
Yeah.
I was like, yours is Marinara Trench deep.
Marinara.
Yeah. Whatever it's called.
I don't know where he's going with that, but
what's that place called?
The Spaghetti Trench.
Mariana? The one in what's the damn trench called?
Oh, yeah. I think you're right.
Marinara?
It's the Spaghetti Trench.
No,
I don't know.
Watch out for the meatballs.
Douglas Penn.
Yeah. Well, that's the short version.
Ready?
We didn't have 4 hours today, but that's the cliff notes.
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's great. Maybe we can have you back and tell the whole story on a separate episode.
Yeah, I'd love to be back.
Well, I've seen the videos of your key, and thanks for coming on, man. It's like Freddie said, all the firefighters have trinkets, and I feel like it's over through the years. I mean, I've only been on the job for 10 years and been, trying to get in the fire service since 2005, but so it hasn't been too long. But I feel like since I've been in it until now, it's been more and more. I mean, on our engines, we have, if you've seen the Big Easy to get into,
we have.
So you got them to get into vehicles. We just took an elevator class with a guy that came in, taught us. He gave us a whole set of elevator pick keys, and so obviously, I'd love to add your key into the arsenal and see how that can help us. So freaking awesome! I love it. Good stuff, and with a good story behind it, it's like, come on, man.
That's more than a good story.
Oh,
I love talking shop, with everybody that has questions about it, or it's not a gimmick. Like there's some doors it doesn't work on, but that's full disclosure. Let's talk about it. Let's see what you got going on, and I love conversing with all my customers and send me pictures and videos, and if you have a question about a lock, let me know. Let's work through it.
What percentage of LA County, your department has kind of adopted it?
Oh, so we have 177 stations, and there's over 3,000. Yeah, there's over 3,000 firefighters. And
Doug thought his was big.
Yeah, we make fun of Doug for having a big fire department.
Yeah.
It's funny because my station, right, there's lots of Williams Key stuff floating around, but they all support me, but they'll never tell me, right? So they'll we'll show up to a door and they'll be working around the Williams Key to find their flathead screwdriver, whatever, just anything to not use my stuff.
Full of credit card out of my wallet.
But I don't know. I haven't marketed it to my department. I would say maybe a couple hundred have gone out to the different stations and the different guys. It's hard for me to keep track because not everybody tells me their county or LA County fire.
Sure.
Yeah, but I would say, and not to sound cocky or anything, but it seems like most people know who I am and what the Williams Key is at this point within my department. And I feel like a lot of people have been able to use it and get hands on. So I couldn't tell you, but it's a big, people love to give it as a gift. Mm-hmm. They're customizable, so people will put logos on them and people's names, especially new recruits who are graduating, or
that's cool.
Or a rookie who finishes probation who wants to buy it for their crew. That happens a lot. So
I love it.
Yeah, good stuff.
Doug, you got some questions?
All right, get ready.
So
Get ready.
So Freddie calls this the turnout drill. I don't know if he prefaced this to you or not. We're going to ask you 3 questions real quick.
Yeah.
3? Okay.
It's always been 3. What are you talking about?
Go ahead.
Only have time for 2.
Sucks to be us. All right. First one. What's your favorite Christmas movie?
Ooh. Is it cliche to say Die Hard? I mean,
no, absolutely not.
No way.
That's the one I try and watch every year.
I was hoping you were going to say that.
Yeah.
Die Hard it is.
Yeah, my wife
Die Hard 2 is also a Christmas movie.
Loves Christmas movies. My wife loves them, and so they start like right after Thanksgiving, and I'm like, nah, this is for me. I'm like, we gotta wait till like the week of Christmas start Christmas stuff. But she starts after Thanksgiving, so we always have this debate, and she'll watch like over 100 Christmas movies, and I'm like, I just want to see Die Hard.
Yeah, I do too. I love them. I love all of them.
Christmas music starts the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
there's two sides to the debate. So
not Christmas until Hans falls off the Nakatomi Tower.
Oh,
all right.
Or that.
Second, one person, dead or alive, that you could share a meal with.
Probably Jesus. I mean, I'm a Christian. I'd love to meet him. I'd learn a lot from him.
That's a good answer.
Be the best answer.
Yeah, no kidding. We've had a couple good answers from different.
Yeah. Oh, let me see. What else am I going to go with? Let's do, if you could give 15-year-old you one piece of advice, what would it be?
Ooh, it would be stock advice. I'd be a way wealthier man if I invested in some good stocks, and I'd probably be able to leverage that to like be able to build more houses or do more good. I think. Everything else, I'm happy for the mistakes that I've made. I don't have regrets, and I think that if I knew the secret to like getting hired early or something like that, that wouldn't be like the right thing. Like I'm happy for all the years I struggled. Like I appreciate the job. I worked really hard. Being out here in California, living on your own, like I've been on my own since I was 18 out here. And it's really tough. Even now, I'm 33 and I'm still like hustling, trying to make it out here because everything's so expensive. And but I'm really happy for the construction experience that I got growing up and trying to become a firefighter. And I still utilize those skills every day. Pretty much, I'm about to go install a solar fan on my doghouse right now. So those are construction skills, right? So I, to your listeners, I encourage all of you, I implore you to, if you're young and trying to get hired and looking for a job, go learn a trade. Get your hands on with some tools because that's stuff that's going to serve you in the fire service and also in your personal life the rest of your life.
For sure.
Very good, man.
Awesome. Great. Trevor, thank you so much for giving us some time today. This was incredible. Really glad we had you on the podcast. Make sure you guys check out the Williams Key. He's got socials, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. We'll link them. Also, it's the last week. Go to taylorstins.com. Get your tin of the month. We're trying to raise money for the First Responder Children's Foundation. They help out wives or spouses and kids of first responders who pass. So they're out there doing great work. We're trying to raise a couple bucks for them. Go grab yourself a tin. Trevor, you got anything else?
No, it was an honor to be on the show. I'll encourage everybody to watch this and follow you guys, and I look forward to the future and what that holds for all of us.
Love it.
Hell yeah.
Thanks, Trevor. Appreciate it, man.
All right. It is shift change. Make sure you pass off your reports. Roll it, Gigi.
Before you leave, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and give these firemen a huge thumbs up. Also, make sure you check out thecoolfireman.com for more. Thanks!